Hi, I'm Bill Ireland, Chief Exec at Logan Energy. We integrate hydrogen technologies to provide energy solutions, which means we do everything from generation of hydrogen, purification, compression, storage, transportation, refueling, and we also do fuel cells, so actually using the hydrogen to generate electricity again. So we provide the whole solution. We go from feasibility through to design, production, looking at grant funding or commercial reality, going through to procurement, manufacturing, installation, commissioning, and then actually decommissioning once it's finished its life. So why am I here? I'm going to talk about hydrogen, but firstly, why are we talking about hydrogen? We're releasing carbon captured for millions of years in fossil fuels, and that carbon is released in carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is affecting global warming. We need to move away from fossil fuels using something else. That something else needs to be renewable, zero emission, both as far as CO2, but also particulates, needs to be sustainable, reliable, and most of all, affordable. So where does our energy come from at the moment? It basically comes from oil and gas, from a few regions around the world that we rely on to import it. We've been lucky in the UK with the North Sea, but that is diminishing, and several years ago we became a net importer, and we need to move away from that and come up with alternatives there. So there are a number of ways to achieve this. There's wind electricity, there's photovoltaic electricity, which is solar, biomass and biogas, geothermal and nuclear. They all have issues. The wind doesn't always blow, the sun doesn't always shine. We don't have enough biomass and biogas, and that actually competes with food crops. So if you're doing an energy crop, you're pushing food out of the way. Geothermal is very geologically specific. There are lots of issues with nuclear, with Germany and Japan basically closing down their nuclear programs. So there are social issues there as well. So hydrogen. Well, explain a bit about hydrogen. Where does it come from? If you go back to school days and you look at putting electrodes into two test tubes, bubbles coming off each, that's electrolysis. And that's what we're doing with electricity, renewable electricity, to generate hydrogen and oxygen. Generally, the oxygen is vented and hydrogen we capture because that's our fuel. We can use that hydrogen to sector shift, and we can move that into transport, to industry, to fuels, to heat, and we can move it around both in pipelines, in cylinders, on the back of lorries. The overall concept is quite simple. We have renewable electricity generated from whichever source you have available locally. You can provide power directly to the users. The surplus or over-generation that you've designed into the system, you can generate hydrogen and you use that for energy storage. We can use it as fuel for vehicles, for heating. You can put it into combustion engines, but more efficiently, you can actually regenerate electricity through a fuel cell and run electric vehicles on it. You can use it in plant, you can use it in remote power applications. So you can therefore get an autonomous power unit. One of the projects that we're working on is a very large project in the northern Netherlands, a 90 million euro project, part funded by the European community, and they are doing exactly that. They're taking surplus electricity and actually dedicated electricity as well from wind turbines that are in the sea, in the North Sea. That's coming into industrial processes, existing industrial processes that are generating hydrogen as a byproduct, but also to new electrolyzers. That hydrogen is then being distributed within pipelines as well as on the back of lorries, and it's going to fuel vehicles, but also fuel homes and fuel industry. And this is a commercial reality. Hydrogen is becoming competitive with petrol and diesel, and it's all about subsidies and having level playing fields. Hydrogen also gives you security of supply and cost. You can actually generate your own energy, and if you turn that into a capital cost rather than an operating cost, you don't actually buy your electricity, you generate your own electricity. You then actually get security of cost as well for a long period of time. So you don't get the fluctuations you see in the fossil fuel market for crude oil and gas. We're going to see a shift in energy powers around the world. If you actually look at where the natural resources are, they are all over the world in different locations. They can be in your back garden or your site, your logistics centre, wherever it is. So you can actually produce your own energy, and you can produce it to power both heating, lighting and your vehicles. So if you're interested and want to find out more about how to produce your own energy and become independent, come and see what we're doing at Logan Energy.